Welcome back to Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I am your host, Coach MJ. I'm a global speaker, mindset strategist, emerging author, and event producer, and serial entrepreneur extraordinaire. And if you are new here, thank you for joining us and welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow for more great training content. If you are a regular, welcome back, and thank you so much for your support. If you have been here for any amount of time, or if you have watched any of my content over the last umpteen years, you know that I love a good list, but specifically, I love debunking myths, because a good part of what it takes for us to succeed, or what stops us from succeeding, is about the messaging that we are telling ourselves or that we are taking in from others. Whether it's the media, whether it's our friends, our colleagues, our family, what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're listening to, the music, or even the messages we tell ourselves based on our past experiences, our past abilities, our past failures. That messaging can be either helping to propel you forward or move you backward. And a lot of what we tell ourselves just isn't true, except to the extent that you believe it. Because when you believe something, it is true. It may as well be true for the good it does you for it to not be true, because you're not looking for any other options when you think you already know what's true. That's why I love debunking myths. Often we are not aware of what's not true. We think it's the truth. That's why we say it over and over, especially cliches and sayings. People begin to say certain phrases over and over, and we tend to believe they're true, and we never look for what could possibly challenge those beliefs. And what you believe is one of your greatest superpowers, because it either limits you or it opens up possibilities. So today we're going to be talking about 5 myths around resourcefulness. What is resourcefulness? Resourcefulness is the ability to use clever ways to quickly overcome obstacles, get around challenges, and create the reality that you want. So today we're going to be talking about 5 myths to getting whatever you want. Ooh, I have a typo. Y'all know I hate a typo. to getting whatever you want. Anyway, we have corrected that, but we're going to get right into it. So the first myth around resourcefulness. Okay, let me go back before we get into the myths. When I talk about resourcefulness, when I am enrolling clients in my various coaching programs, one of the traits that I look for to decide whether this client is the one for me, because it's a two-way relationship. That's a quick tip for my coaches and consultants out there. Everybody who wants to hire you is not a fit. You have to have some standards for who you will bring on as a client. One of my standards is that they have to be resourceful. They have to be able to get what they want or find a way. And you're going to find out today when we talk about these 5 myths, why that is so important. But a person that is not resourceful, we're not going to be able to work together, because there's always a challenge that you have to overcome. That's just life. Life has its challenges and you have to be able to overcome them. So if you're the type that never finds a way, that's always blaming somebody else, or that's always getting stuck based on what's not happening and what's not available, that's a challenge. Resourcefulness is a superpower, as are your beliefs. Okay, let's get into it. Myth number 1 with regards to being resourceful is that you tell yourself, once I get X, whatever that is, X, Y, Z, then I'm going to get started. This is one of the big ones that haunts people. And you may be one of these people. It's okay if you are. We're here to learn that. Specifically with maybe starting a business, or maybe doing some big health goal, or even something in your relationships, you've decided that there is something that you need, and once I get it, I'll get started. And so you're not going to start until you get this thing that you feel you need to have. The challenge is with that type of thinking is that what you need in the world, whether it's money, that's often a big one, but sometimes it's some type of skill. Sometimes it's a relationship or connection that you need. That is not going to show up until you are in motion. opportunity, what is that saying? Opportunity, I think, favors the prepared. I may be misquoting that one. But another one is that resources favor someone that's in motion or action, taking action. And so when you are not doing something, then there's not a need. When you have not gotten started, there's not a need that needs to be filled. You have to take the steps that you can take before the parts that you can't do because you have the need, before that need will be filled. The problem is that so many people want to see everything in place so they can have this sense of, I'm not going to fail, or everything's going to go well. First of all, everything is not going to go well in life. There are going to be challenges in life. You have to be willing to take the first step, go ahead and get started, and then that item, that resource that you need will show up once there is a gap created by the forward motion of you taking the first step. So maybe it's that you need to take a first step to start your podcast. I don't have everything even now for the podcast I want. I'm going to create a whole studio, either here in my house or off site. And I don't have that yet. But I went ahead and started streaming my podcast from where I'm at because I don't want to wait. Those items are not going to show up in my podcast studio until I actually have a podcast. So don't get stuck by the myth that once you have XYZ, then you'll get started. Go ahead and get started and XYZ will show up. Or sometimes you'll find out you don't even need XYZ after all. Myth number 2 is that look, today I am full of typos. Oh my goodness. That's okay. I'm taking action. I have to know where XYZ or where blank is coming from before I can go after it. So this is talking about a certain resource. Sometimes we are stuck in inactivity because we don't know where to start. And I get it. If you don't know, you don't know. However, especially in 2024, with access to resources at everybody's fingertips, the internet is the ultimate resource for anything that you need in life. There's no excuse for not moving forward. You don't even have to know where it is. I can't tell you how many times, for those of you who may be on my friend list on Facebook or maybe a personal friend, where I've just gone onto Facebook and said, and just asked a question, and all of a sudden, all these responses are there answering my question. Or not on Facebook, there's a little tool called Google that if you don't even know where to start or where it's coming from, you can still go after it. You can ask questions. Again, we're talking about getting resourceful. Who have you asked? What have you tried? You don't have to know where it's coming from. If you're looking for money, maybe you are trying to start a business or purchase something else, and maybe you need $500, $5,000, whatever it is, you don't have it. You don't have to know, oh, it's going to be a loan. Oh, somebody's going to give it to me. Oh, I'm going to find it. Oh, I'm going to be able to earn it in enough time, or I have it. I'll think of a place where I've actually got that in a piggy bank and I forgot about it, or whatever. You don't have to know where it's going to come from. You're not going to be able to go find it until you go after it. Take the first step. Again, in this day and age, there is no excuse for, as I say, reveling in ignorance. There's no reason to just stay stuck with the I don't know where it's going to come from. Just start looking. Look one place. Make an attempt to borrow it. And maybe the person you ask says, I can't lend it to you, but I know of XYZ resource. Go after it. Going after it is the resourcefulness. You don't have to know where it's coming from. You don't have to know that. And I know we like to have that sense of that it's a false sense of security from having all our ducks in a row before we make an effort, because we don't want to feel like we're out there, and we don't let go of the idea that you have to do things perfect, or that you can't make mistakes, or that things, if they don't work out, that it reflects negatively on you. It doesn't. And a lot of that is just a selfishness, or it's a self-centeredness that's stopping you from achieving your dreams. And dreams is what we're here after, right? Resourcefulness is going to get you there. Stop thinking that you can't go after it until you know where it's coming from. Myth number 3 is that if I don't have it, this is a good one. If I don't have it, it must not be meant to be. That is a false one. But I have fallen victim of it, so I'm not going to be too hard on you, but I'm going to shut you down and say, stop it. We often believe that if I don't have what I need, if I don't have what it takes, the skill, the money, the connections to do A, B, and C, it must not be meant to be. No, it just means you need to turn over another rock. If you've been, John P. Key famously said in one of his recordings, if you've been hanging in there, reach up and tie a new knot in the rope, and keep holding on. Keep pursuing what you want to find, what it is that you need. And don't think because you haven't found it yet, that means it must not be meant to be. If success in whatever the space is was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would have it. And then it wouldn't even be considered success. It would just be the norm. Not having it yet, let's use that magic word yet, okay, to be our guardrails. It's not that it's not coming. So it doesn't matter that you don't have it yet. That doesn't mean it's not meant to be. It just hasn't gotten there yet. Or maybe it's going to come in a different form. Maybe you will find that the resource you were looking for is not the one you actually need, but it's in the pursuit of it that you'll find that out. Don't tell yourself it's not meant to be because it hasn't happened. And I'm speaking to myself. There's been times in my business. There's been times in relationships. There's been times in my health where things have not come as quickly, or it's not even about quickly. Sometimes the road is long and you've been at it a while. Not having it doesn't mean that it's not meant to be. Now, there are times when you do need to pivot away, but we often let ourselves off the hook too quickly because it must not be meant to be because it hasn't happened. Who are you to decide it wasn't meant to be? Are you the one that decides that? If you're saying meant to be, as in this is your destiny, this is what you were made for, this is your purpose, you have to be, the name of the podcast, persistent in pursuing your purpose. So don't think that just because it has not happened or because you have not found that resource yet, that it's not meant to be, because that is a myth. The fourth myth is that what I have isn't enough. It kind of ties back in with the first one. Once I get XYZ, then I'll get started. This one is what I already have just isn't enough. And sometimes it may not be enough to get you all the way to the end. Maybe you have a dream like a friend of mine that's going to be a multi-million-dollar piece of real estate and a business. And at this point, my friend does not have that multi-million, but they are starting where they are with what they have. And it's enough right now. And that's going to move them forward little by little. You're going to get more and more of the resources that you need if you believe that what you have is enough for where you are. Because if every dream had to start with, first of all, it wouldn't be anything worth dreaming about if you already had it. If you already had everything, you wouldn't be dreaming about it. You'd be walking in it. You would have the result. The fact that it's a dream means it's going to take multiple steps. And it can take months, years. It can take lots of money, lots of connections, lots of effort. But what you have is enough for right now, because all you need to do is take the first step. What you have, if all you have is an idea, start with the idea and start sharing it with people you trust who can take you to the next step. Then you maybe find a mentor. Then you maybe find a person that can, partner with you. It depends on what it is. But what you have is enough for now. For the first step, start taking action. Find those ways to navigate the challenges, but don't believe that what you have is not enough. It's always enough. It's always enough for where you are. And trust yourself that when you take the next step, you will get to the next piece that you need and the next piece that you need. But what you have is always enough right now. And then the fifth myth that about getting whatever you want or not being able to get whatever you want is that if I have a certain resource, XYZ, and I still don't succeed, I'm a failure. I talk about failure and success a lot. First of all, you get to decide what failure looks like, and you get to decide what success looks like. I choose to define success in a way that helps me to always win. I never lose. I just learn lessons. I learn other ways not to do it. I always gain skills. I gain experience. I gain connections. I never fail. Now, a certain pursuit might fail, but I'm not a failure. What I did might not have worked out, but there's a difference between saying that effort failed. That activity didn't work out the way we envisioned, but I'm not a failure. And even with the activity failing, you can still frame that as we didn't get the result we thought we would get, but we got a result. Because at least you learned a lesson. At least you gathered data. Maybe you spoke to that person and you thought that was the resource, and you still don't get from that connection what you thought you would. Maybe you thought that was going to be the thing that catapulted you to success, and it turns out they weren't able to help you. You still learned how to open up your mouth and connect with another human being and build a relationship. You never lose unless you decide you lose. I always win. That's all I do is win. That's what it is. You get to decide what failure is. I don't even have a strong definition for failure because I'm not doing it. Because even when efforts fail, they don't, because I always get the experience. I always get the win. I always get exposure. I always get experience, whatever that is. So it's a myth that if you have a certain resource, so you got resourceful and you got a certain resource, but it still didn't get you what you wanted, that you are a failure. No, maybe that wasn't truly the resource you needed. So just go back and look for what else. Look for the lesson. I believe everything teaches us a lesson if it's not getting us to the victory that we wanted. Look for the lesson and then turn that apparent failure into a success by being resourceful. So we've talked about the 5 myths, or 5 of the myths to getting whatever you want. And if you want to go deeper and you want to learn more, I invite you to go to my website at melaniehunter.com, and at the very least, join my mailing list. If I have depending on when you see this, I may have one of my upcoming 5-day challenges on the schedule. If so, go ahead and sign up for it. But if you get on my mailing list, you will know when the next time is that I will be having a 5-day challenge where you can learn how to pursue your purpose, the assignment that you were placed here on this earth to fulfill, with persistence, so that you can have what you want and so that you can be the light in the world that you are meant to have. Until next time, this has been Coach MJ. I hope you have an amazing day and be blessed.